A quick heads up before we kick off this episode that Liam will be performing a new song called The I Am at the end of this episode. So thanks for listening to the podcast about nothing in particular, episode 7, Worship with Liam Bernhard. Okay, yeah, I think we're recording. So
Nice.
Let's get started. So thanks for listening to the podcast about nothing in particular, where we bring words from our mouth holes
To your ear holes.
And today we have.
Wait, do you want to go through the start again and tell them what we're the
Oh yeah.
the
We
order?
didn't tell you what we were.
Dude, I'm just here though. Like I'm like red. I'm geared. I don't even know what you're gonna. I don't know what you're gonna want to talk about. What you're gonna ask me, but we're just gonna flow.
That's true. Let's just flow. Let's just do it.
You want to just flow?
Let's just flow.
Okay.
He can handle anything.
Catch me off guard. I'm gonna be like, whoa, what?
I wasn't ready for that. We did that with another guest. We talked theology
Dr.
and
Fox.
barbecue, and he was
Yeah,
like,
we just jumped into it, and
we just jumped. We didn't tell him anything.
during we were like, maybe we should have
Maybe we should have told you what we're doing.
That's how we didn't say it. We didn't say that. I think we communicated that non-verbally
Yeah.
to each other. We were like,
Yeah,
maybe we
we
should have.
should. I think.
Started talking about the rapture, theology,
Whoa.
everything. I mean, just
Like,
jumped
out
in.
there. Whoa.
Well, what actually inspired it was you had posted about some. You went to like some worship thing, and this guy had a podcast, and
Yeah.
he talked about it, and then it made me think, and I was like, talk about it.
Let's
So,
do it.
so you influenced that podcast.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes.
Cool.
That's what's
So
up.
Yeah.
on today's episode, we have Liam Bernhard, commonly mispronounced Bernard.
Yes.
Very common. He's a worship pastor at Crestwood Vineyard, but anybody who knows anything about anything knows that's not all you do. So there's no like laundry list out there of everything that you do. So can you give us a little bit of insight of what you're up to?
Yeah. So I oversee worship and arts here at Crestwood, as well as the pastoral. So I oversee 11 people here. And then from there, we started a venue in our basement. So we have a venue here, literally called The Basement, where we have local singer-songwriters, bands come out, do their thing, show off their stuff, which we love to do. We have a recording studio here where I get to record my album. Dropped an album in April of this year.
Yeah.
That is like, it's a worship album mixed with singer-songwriter stuff, mixed with process. It's kind of all over the map. Everything might not be for you, but I think there's something for everyone on it. I think that's the best way to really say it. It's like, I don't know if everything's for you, but you're going to find something. You're like, that's cool. I'm down with that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And then, oh gosh, what else do I do? Run a worship school called Worship School OKC. Me and my friend Chris Cole Williams, the bro, we co-direct Worship School OKC, which is a space where we're just pressing into the heart of worship. And so giving space for worship leaders all over the city to teach and share their hearts and how do we do this thing? And it's much more about unity than it is drawing lines and what happens with what, you know. What else? Oh yeah, I'm like, what else do I do? I'm the director for Burn 24/7 OKC, which is a worship prayer missions movement across the world, where we do monthly worship night settings, do 24 hours of worship straight, where worship leaders come in and lead sets of worship and prayer for our city. And not only am I the director here in Oklahoma City, but I also oversee the region, the Mid-South region of the Burn. So
Nice.
Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico. That's my region. So and I think I think that's everything. I'm also a husband. My wife is way cooler than me.
Aren't they always?
Right? Married way up. It's ridiculous. She's so awesome.
Is she more righteous than you?
I would say yes.
In a sense of being right.
Yes, like being right. Yes, 100%. My
I think
wife,
you meant like more like righteous, like how Paul would say.
Well,
he's like
that too.
holier.
Yeah.
Yes,
She's
my
like
wife
holier
is
than you
holier
and
than
stuff?
I am. Absolutely, 100%. I will not shy away from that reality. But,
So
yeah.
you mentioned a little bit about Crestwood and
Yeah.
planting. So I've heard a little bit in the past, but for people who don't know, and Adam doesn't know, can you give us a little insight of how you went from being a opera major? Is that a technical term? Opera major? Or?
Yeah, well, it's a vocal performance is like the paper term.
Gotcha.
Vocal performance major, emphasis in opera. Yeah, man. So I'm originally from Michigan, from northern Michigan, Traverse City. I went to university for a few years up there in Michigan at a school called Western Michigan. Go Broncos. And not to be confused with the Broncos here, different type.
Not the UCO Broncos.
Yeah, spelled differently. Spelled like the actual animal. There's no shade there. It just confuses me sometimes.
Bronchos.
The Bronchos. Yeah. So I went there for a few years, and then one of my good friends, actually one of my best friends, his name's Eric Wilson, called me up out of the blue and was like, dude, you need to move to Oklahoma City. And I was like, I've got really nothing going for me here at Western. I was kind of fooling around, messing around, and I thought if anybody could serve two masters, like I'd be the guy who could do it. You know, like if anybody could lead worship and then like go party on the weekends, I was like, I'm the guy. I can do this, Jesus. I know you say that literally you can't, but I'm going to
So you're embracing that double-mindedness in your mind?
Like, 100%. 100%. I was owning up to
everything.
it. Yeah.
Because most people, when they're in those scenarios, they're like, well, they kind of just ignore that other half of them, but you actually embrace it. That's interesting.
I flat out embraced it and then flat out realized that I was a fool, just a total fool. So yeah, I ended up coming down here and went to Oklahoma City University, where I began studying much more seriously voice. And so yeah, into my studies, the Lord just wrecked my heart, absolutely wrecked my heart, and was like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to lead worship. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. And so sure enough, we planted Crestwood in the fall of 2012. Is that right? Fall of 2013. So 5 years ago. And I was in my last semester doing a victory lap at OCU and came over here and planted. And so it's been a whirlwind.
So how did they find you? How did they bring you into this church plant?
I was like the last guy on the list. And nobody will tell you this flat out, but I know it for a fact. Like, everybody was like, man, we called everybody else for this position, and you're the last one. And so,
no way.
Flat out, man, flat out. So we were a large community. People on staff were a part of Frontline Church here in the city, and we have a huge love and respect for Frontline. And so one of my mentors at the time said, hey, we're going to plant this church. It's a vineyard church, and we feel like you're the guy for worship. And so at the time, I was signing up for an internship in worship and youth over there with Charlie Hall and Will Gaines. Great mentors, great guys in the community and in the city. I was like going to do this internship, and so I had no real reason to leave Frontline. Like, it was like, I don't know, things are good. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. And so I just kind of got some FaceTime with the Lord and was like, all right, Jesus, if I'm supposed to do this, I need you to tell me. Like, I need you to tell me flat out, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so sure enough, another one of my mentors, he hits me up and he's like, hey, I'm going to go be a part of this church plant. And so 2 of these 4 mentors in my life were like, hey, we're going to go do the church plant thing. And the other 2 were like on staff at Frontline. So it's kind of like this split thing in my heart. And then sure enough, I got a call from Will Gaines, and Will was like, dude, I feel like this is what you're supposed to do. I feel like you're supposed to go over to Crestwood. And so he's like, I'm happy to get rid of your internship. I'm happy to just get rid of it, and we'll just say it never happened, which is like a huge, crazy thing where he's like, I'm going to take this away from you so that you can go be on staff at this other church, which is just like a huge blessing. Because it kind of was like, okay, like, yeah, I can, if that's, that makes sense. And then a few days later, Charlie calls, and I got to talk with Charlie for a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I feel like you're the guy. You're the guy for that position, and we're going to continue to love on you and be friends. And And so through the years, Charlie and Will and all the guys, Ben Hill, all those guys over there at Frontline have just continued to speak into my life and mentor
awesome.
me. And so I was kind of like, go do this, go be a part of it. And we're going to back you. We're going to back you and love on you and encourage you. So that's how I happened across the city.
They sent you off well.
Yeah. Super
awesome.
super honoring, super well. I'm super honored by the guys at Frontline across the city and what they still do. I mean, they're just great church, man. Great folk.
I agree. So speaking of that worship, I interned with you for, what was it, like a week?
It's like the shortest internship in the history of internships.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great time though. So in what has now been, titled, someday they're going to make a movie about it called The Week. The most incredible subtitle, The Most Incredible Internship Known to Man. You kind of explained your kind of theology of worship. And it was so unique, to me at least. I'm not a worship guru, but I love worship, worshiping, involved in worship. But it was so unique how you explain your theology of worship and how you invite people in, but also give them the exit ramps as you said. So can you kind of explain and go into that? You don't have to be too deep, as deep as you want. I mean,
yeah, for sure. So I when it comes to, and this is just, I'm going to be just flat out and real with you guys. I feel like this is the healthiest way to be a leader, is just to be transparent and to come as you are, just wide open.
Right.
And so, some days I wake up and I'm a Calvinist, and some days I wake up and I'm an Arminianist, and some days some days I wake up and I'm like this crazy mystic. That's more than usual. I'm usually just kind of mystical,
sure, right,
kind of spiritually. And so, but really the heart of worship, I feel like, and the heart of revival is really family. And so with that, my desire here at Crestwood is to see family put on display, in that people are caring, covering one another, loving one another, and that above all else, we are actually seeing each other truly for who they are, and calling out the gold in one another, honoring one another, and creating space for dreams and things like that. And so I think what you're referring to is really just the transparency I hold in the place of worship. Is just, hey, if you are in a season where you're supposed to be full on, it's like, I'm going to help create space for you to do your thing. And that's really what I think leadership does. Like, as a leader, what you're supposed to do is create space for people that you're leading alongside, creating space, lifting up others, making room for people to just really go run and use their gifts to their fullest abilities. And so that's what I do around here. And so with that, I have these on-ramps and off-ramps, and it's just kind of a open conversational thing where it's like, open conversational thing where if you are feeling led, called into worship, we talk about it. Let's talk about what that looks like for you specifically, and get you plugged into a space here at Crestwood. And then if you're feeling like you're in a season where you're not able to give what you're supposed to give, that's okay. It's like, it's okay. And we recognize our humanness. We recognize the fact that, like, not every month, you're not going to be on every month, sometimes life happens to us and hits us sideways. And so in those areas, we just need to be highly aware and honoring of those things, and say, okay, well, maybe it's time that you either take a step back, or giving them space to say, hey, I need to take a step back. And so just having those open conversations, and like I said, call them on-ramps and off-ramps. And so getting onto the team, getting off the team, they're, just wide open spaces.
So Liam, what would you, I guess, so also being a musician in the church, and, at Southwestern, it's kind of different because it's just a bunch of kids, and at times it's hyper competitive, and and just kids being kids and learning the process. But as we see in a lot of, and I'm not naming churches in particularly, because one, I don't know what other churches are doing except really my church, and other churches I visit, which I love dearly. But there's kind of, I guess it's known in a lot of church spaces. I'm not saying any church in Oklahoma in particular, but a lot of church spaces, it's known that if you're not on this level of excellence, you're not necessarily welcome to the team or to what we're doing. And I read this book that I talk about a lot called The Way of the Dragon or The Way of the Lamb. And it kind of speaks to this, whole culture as a whole and says, well, actually what we do as Christians is we lean into our weaknesses so that Christ gets more glory. No, that's not to say that you can't be good at something or that you can go on stage and just never picked up a guitar in your life and start strumming and call yourself the worship leader. But I love how it speaks to, in our weaknesses Christ gets more glory, and we should lean into that. So how do you as a worship leader and someone in the community who has a voice, what would you kind of say to that culture of excellence, and how do you take on people who are working on becoming a better musician, but also have a love and heart and a calling to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like what I've recognized and what I've learned, and what I think we need more of is what I'd say is kind of fathers and mothers in the worship arena. And what I mean by that is people who are parenting. And what I mean by parenting is giving themselves away. I think the training is probably one of the biggest deficits in worship culture right now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that's everywhere. I've actually know some incredible worship trainers and leaders in the city that are doing awesome things for their teams specifically. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's probably the biggest thing. It's not only training, raising people up, but being honest. I think I'm not saying people are lying all the time. But what I am saying is that if somebody is not necessarily up to par with their voice,
right?
Like there's an opportunity for us to have real conversations and say, hey, I love who you are. I love what you carry. How can we work on your instrument? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's a hard conversation. That's a challenging conversation, but I think it's a necessary one that
totally
I think people shy away from. They shy away from that conflict or say, oh, that's going to hurt or that's going to be hard. Yeah, you have to practice.
What do you think is the biggest deficit in worship between instrumentalists or vocalists practicing and preparing for the sets, or the worship leader, not per se the particular person, but each person on the team preparing their heart and being honest like that?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. So I don't want to cop out. I think it's a both and. Mm-hmm. I think it's evidently a both and, but I think heart posture is a lot harder to train than skill, if that makes sense. So the dedication, the heart posture with the Lord is not necessarily something that that 15 minutes every day is gonna change.
Yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? And so I would say in terms of if one or the other is more challenging, I would definitely lean on the side of heart posture. I think is more important, and it takes more time and building character, that piece. Mm-hmm. But that does not distance us from the fact that we do need to learn our craft. Right. That we do need to be picking up the guitar, picking up, setting up drums, doing our arpeggios, practicing all those things, practicing scales, those things that at the end of the day, if how the worship culture is happening right now, if worship changes like it has in the history of worship culture,
right.
If you do not practice your scales, you do not practice knowing all of those pieces, those musical pieces, Nashville number system, all those different things. If you do not practice those things, you could become obsolete as a musician.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because styles change, because styles shift, they come in, they come out. And so that's where I think those practicing elements is like, hey, we don't want to become obsolete. We don't want to become worthless as musicians.
Right.
And so I think that's where that part comes in. But at the same time, if our hearts aren't dedicated, consecrated, staring at the person of Jesus set on the cross, and the person of Jesus, the presence of Holy Spirit, the adoration of Abba Father. It's like, oh, yeah,
it becomes noise.
It kind of becomes, noise.
And I think, what is it? Is it Malachi where it says, I hate all your noise and pretend. And I agree. If we have the technical aspects down and we know how to put on the show, but our hearts aren't right, because it goes back to the temple in Malachi, how God just said, I hate this pretend that you put on. Yeah, so I totally agree.
Put on the show,
yeah.
So you talked a little bit before about your album release,
yes,
and your tour. So let's hear a little bit about your tour. Tell us how it went. I know One Stop.
Yeah.
I was really touched by what you said on Instagram about you played at my mom's work, which is a mental institute. And can you tell us a little about that, and then kind of like the tour as a whole? Because I love to hear about your side of the story on that.
Absolutely. It was I was overwhelmed, man. I really was, by the tour. Specifically, that stop in Tulsa. I was when your mom said, "Hey, I really want you to come in and share your songs with these people that are afflicted, working through addiction, and just singing about healing in those spaces and singing about the person of Jesus," is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this much of an open opportunity to like come in and share my songs with these people. I was overwhelmed. I was like, man, how do I do this? Like, it's funny because after I kind of played in two different branches of the facility, and at the first one I broke a string on my guitar, and I was like, all right, Lord, like this whole thing, it's about you. It's about, getting with your people. And even with the broken string, these people were just so loving. So welcoming of the song, so thankful that I would come in and take the time. And I think that's I'm trying to shy away from like white savior complex thing. Right. I'm like nothing special. I'm a guy with a guitar who sings songs. Like that's what I am. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. But when you get set up into those sacred spaces where you get to see the holy other, right? Like you get to see the holiness, the sacredness in the person across from you. And you're recognizing their radiance, their love, their adoration for you is this acceptance. It's actually a picture of Christ. It's this picture of the Christ, the indwelling God coming from another. And you're like, oh my gosh, this whole exchange, of love, this exchange of songs is like why we live on the earth. Like that's, and it looks different. I think it manifests different. I think it manifests if you work at a clothing store and like you're somebody behind the cash register, I think it can manifest just as much there as it does me singing songs. I think if you're a doctor, whatever it looks like in your own life, that exchange of love, that giving of love, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming when we just kind of stop, pause, and realize, oh my gosh, like the imago Dei goes beyond myself. This image of God goes beyond who I am, and it's actually an imprint on creation. And so I think that's what I got overwhelmed by. And not only that, but I feel like people, especially in mental health situations, hardships, kind of get dehumanized. People that are, that maybe are dealing with depression or those just different pieces of instability in their life, they get dehumanized. They get like they're not quite human. I don't know what they are, and that's just not true. It's just not true. They deserve as much love, if not more, than we do. And so to have that opportunity, it's like, wow. I
definitely understand that because you'll realize this soon. I work at a boys' home currently, and the facility I work in is an SO facility, which means the kids I work with at some capacity have been sexual offenders in some way, and most of the time those kids have been they've been victimized themselves. They've been victims of sexual abuse at a very early age, and a lot of times, even some of the staff, I hate to say it, they'll look at the kids and be like, "There's just no hope. There's no hope for them. But I know what you mean. It seems like they get dehumanized. Like, this is some breed of something, but they're never amount to anything. They say their IQs are too low, this or that. They've done too many wrong things. But I definitely think that we think God's up to something, and that He's doing something in their lives. So I think it definitely takes a patience and a willingness, long suffering with them to see them down the long road. So, and for me, I'm leaving. I'm going to work at my denominational headquarters, doing graphic design and get to help with ministries and stuff. So I'm super pumped about that. But it's bittersweet because I never, like, when I first started, it was just a job. Like, cool, I got this job. But now I realize that it's so much more than that. That it's really a ministry, and I have hopes. I believe that I'm going to be able to still be involved in some way. There's a couple kids in particular that I really hope just to mentor and, like, come back and mentor, take them out. Be able to, like, spend more time, and almost, because a lot of these kids, they don't have fathers, they don't have mothers. A lot of kids, they don't have anyone. Some of the kids are what you call DHS permanents, so they'll be in DHS till they're 18. But there's a few kids that I believe it's been a divine connection, and it's slowly become a, like, father son relationship.
Wow.
And there's one kid individually that I love and care for so much that in some ways I even view him as, like, a son, or like taking care of him in that way. And so, I mean, it's radically changed my life forever, being with these boys, and I'm incredibly thankful for it. So I think everybody needs to have that experience with these people groups, because once you're in the nitty gritty and in the everyday and in their lives, you realize that, honestly, you're lucky, because you were one or two bad situations of being in the exact same scenario.
Right.
So it's life changing. I think everyone needs to be involved in some capacity with these types of people groups, because it will change your life.
Yeah, that's really good, man. I feel like when we read those red letters, like the words of Christ, what He said, we recognize that the story that's unraveling is actually a story of love for the marginalized, like for the downtrodden. Like, time and time again, the stories that are recorded, like, I mean, there's more out there. I bet there's more to Jesus's life than we have, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
But the ones that have lasted through time in our current form of Scripture, our current form of the Bible, are all these stories of the marginalized. He who's without sin cast the first stone, right? Like, this lady who's about to get stoned to death, like, Jesus comes up and is like, for this lady, or the woman at the well, this prostitute at the well who's had a fair share of husbands, is what Jesus says. Like, I know that you don't have one husband, so you've had many, but Jesus sees her, and she becomes, like, one of the most radical missionaries for the, that. But, but and I think that's, like, this story that we get to be a part of, and we shouldn't shy away from,
right,
at all, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, especially in like what's happening in 2018. It's like we have an opportunity to be Christ, be Christ-like, definitely, to the marginalized, to see people that are disenfranchised, and to love them well by stepping into their situation. And kind of in the same way that I was saying earlier, it's like we all have different layers of privilege in our lives. And as a white middle-class male, it's like I'm like the highest picture of privilege in the United States. And so what can I do with my privilege? It's like, I don't get to shed my own privilege off of me, right? It doesn't just shed off of me. But I do get to become awakened to the problems of others, and create spaces where I can invite people to come alongside me, pulling people up. And again, not the white savior complex thing. That's not what it is. It's actually being Christ. That's what it is. It's being Christ-like, to actually put on the story and say, oh my gosh, like, there's more to this thing meets the eye, and it can look like going into a psych ward and singing songs with these beautiful people.
Right. And fair warning, not to dissuade or discourage anyone from taking on those tasks. It's tough. It's really, really tough because
it's not sexy.
It's not beautiful, man. Because it is beautiful, but it's not sexy. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Because man, these kids, I love them dearly, and I don't hold any grudges against them at all. But they will push you to your limits, and they will cuss you out. They will try to they'll try to fight you 1 second, the next second they want you to go play checkers with them. I mean, my mom has similar stories working in the mental institute, and these people, they will bite you and punch you, and I had to break up a fight today at the boys' home, and it's just for these reasons. They just have these different traumas that if you are wanting to go into this, definitely go into it, but just be prepared and and pray for that God gives you grace with these kids, because they just don't know any better, and they need people to show them how to live life. And so that's just a fair warning for everyone, but definitely do it. It'll change your life.
That's good.
Cool. So back to the topic. Oh,
right.
Unless you want to keep going.
Like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the tour.
The tour. So tell us how it went.
Yeah.
Give us the details.
So I released the album. Album is called Scratches from Notebooks, and that's just a play on my history with these songs. All the songs that are on the album are songs I wrote growing up, and they really are all process songs. Like when I went through a hard time or something was happening in my life, these are the songs that kind of came out of those seasons. And so they are kind of all over the place. I have one song that's really kind of a distaste for the corporate church, really, and that's just honest. It's called "Will You Dwell Here," and it's what came out of it. And just having a hard time with what the big C church looks like, and kind of being disenchanted by the bride. And but hey, like that's life, right? Like you go through it. There's like a breakup song on there and all that
nice.
Fun stuff. All that fun stuff. But anyways, so I just kind of asked some friends across the US, hey, if I was going to do a tour, who would want me to come? And sure enough, I had a handful of people right here, like in our neck of the woods, if you will.
Sure.
Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, up to Missouri, and then Oklahoma, said, hey, we want you to come. So I did about 2 weeks. I was out on the road, like 12-ish shows, and coffee shops and churches and living rooms, and really just wherever somebody would say yes to me, I said yes to that. So the only things I really asked for was like, hey, can you hook me up with a place to stay and maybe buy some albums if somebody wants to? Like, that'd be good. and sure enough, each place was like, we want to feed you, we want to put you up, and took an offering for me. It's like, I was nice. Unbelievable. I felt so loved and cared for. So yeah, I went to, oh gosh, can't remember everywhere I went. I went like Weatherford, Wichita Falls, Austin, Dallas, went down to Shreveport, Zachary, Louisiana, made stop over in like the Fayetteville area, went up to St. Louis, went to Tulsa, and good old Shawnee,
nice.
Oklahoma, the fam. There's a coffee shop there called The Gathering Place in Shawnee that's super hip and super cool, and I love the owners over there. So if you're ever in Shawnee, go get yourself a cup of coffee. It's a gathering place.
And by the way, everything mentioned in this podcast, worth mentioning, which is everything, it will be in the show notes. So the album, link to the social medias, this coffee place, all of it. It'll be in the show notes. So if you're looking for that, look below.
Boom.
It's in the show notes.
So yeah, that was my tour. It was super, super fun. I'll probably do it again.
Because this wasn't some little 3 city tour. This is a full-fledged
2-week tour,
grown up man tour.
Just me and my car, man. I just hopped in the sanctuary car and just had a lot of, it's actually, what's interesting is like, from place to place, you know, you'd have a few hours driving, and that time was, incredibly introspective for me.
Yeah.
I didn't turn on the radio the whole time. I really was just it's prayerful space for me to kind of go, okay, what's going on in my world? Like, what's happening?
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
So what's happening in my
It's a crazy thing because I did the same thing when I moved back from Kentucky. I drove I think it was like 17, 18 hours. I somehow got lost on the back roads and took the back roads all the way to Oklahoma City from Lexington, Kentucky, and it took so long. But the whole time, I didn't play the radio probably once, and I was just in my head thinking, praying, doing stuff. So I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, dude.
And hours pass, and you're like,
whoa,
what am I doing? Like, what's been going on? Like,
I'm still alive. That's good, right?
I'm still alive, barely. Almost got run over on that bridge, but it's all good. So I know what you mean exactly. Yeah. It's also really dangerous.
Right. It is. It's that, especially like when you get zoned out, that windshield time, it's like all of a sudden you're going like 90, you're like hauling down the road and you're like, oh wait, I should probably have speed control. Let's put on this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So any standout stories from the tour? Anything crazy, funny?
Oh man. You know, not a whole lot out of the ordinary which I think is probably the coolest part. I'll share, let me see if there really wasn't anything like super out of the ordinary. I had a few places where I was supposed to do shows that didn't happen. And so, which is cool, is like the show was set and then all of a sudden we can't do it. Something, this, that, or the other thing happened. And those nights ended up actually being really precious, just precious nights. And one of those, I have like a ton of acquaintances and friends in DFW. And, and I was like set up, I was going to do a show and some friends were like, hey, yeah, come do this. And then it was like, wait, that's not going to work. And so it was all up in the air the whole time. And then I got a Facebook message from a buddy who's like, hey dude, come over to Frisco and come play Ultimate Frisbee. And
nice.
I was like, done. Yeah. I'm there, dude. Like, I'm so there. Let's go play some Frizz. And so I ended up meeting up all these guys in Frisco and played Ultimate Frisbee for the night. And I didn't pick up my guitar once the whole time, but it was still like,
right. Yeah.
This is tour. Like, so good.
Welcome to the tour.
right. Like, this is what we do, man. Like if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know?
Yeah. So, I've never been on a tour, probably will never will. But a young musician, if you could say something to a young musician who's putting their heart on a stick, going out on tour, and something like that happens where they get let down or something, how would you tell them, or what would you say to them in those moments of disappointment where they were let down or it didn't go as planned?
Find what those moments are for.
That's
I think that's the biggest thing. Find out what those moments are actually for. Because even if you got something set up, right? Like, okay, we're going to do this thing. Okay, we didn't have enough people show up. We actually can't have you come out. Okay, so why? Okay, why? What are the whys behind that? And obviously don't beat yourself down with those whys, but get into that place where you can say, okay, I'm still here. I'm still at this, whatever this spot is, how can I make the most of being here? And I think that's probably the greatest thing you can do is realize, just be present, right? Like, just be present in the moment. You're in whatever place you're in, so far away from home. Yeah. Be present to the time, be real and go, okay, what can I do? Whether that's like go busk on the corner, like some people, like grab your guitar. If they say no there, it's like, I guess like go until you get in trouble, right? Like just go figure it out. And really, like, I think that's one of those pieces where if you do have those moments, it's like, it's okay, cool. Obviously feel the emotion of being bummed. Like, don't just like walk over that emotion, but maybe compartmentalize it and get back to it later when you can. Right now, like, this is what I have. I'm here, right. I'm here wherever I am, and like, there's people that wanted to come see me, even if they weren't enough people. It's like, oh, you should probably go talk to those guys who like came out to your, if there's like 4 people that came out, like go chat with them, see if you can't like do something on their porch, right?
Yeah,
like,
dude, I'll come play on your porch.
You're right. Like I'll come right now.
You got a grandma? Dude?
Exactly.
I'll play
dude.
just for her. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, grandma would love music.
Yeah, right. So
awesome. So probably a couple more topics, and then
cool.
we can wrap it up.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
So music.
Yes.
What are your music picks of the year?
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. New Mumford. I don't know if you guys have listened to the new Mumford and Sons.
I haven't.
I haven't listened
Literally.
since they stopped playing banjos, man. I just like, come on, bring back the banjo.
Bring back the banjo.
I'll bring back my ears. No, I'm joking. I haven't listened to it. No,
It's like real. It's real fresh. It's
I did like their tribal sessions, whatever. I guess they were recorded in Africa with a few different artists there.
Yeah.
That was I like the South Africa.
I think it's in South Africa.
Yeah, I really liked that sound they produced with that. That was crazy.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
I love those guys. Let's see. Locally, the guys from Cedar House. I don't know if you know Cedar House. I think they released an EP.
that sounds familiar, but I'm not 100% sure.
Awesome little folk Americana indie trio with a band. They're starting to do more full band stuff. They released an EP. I love those guys. They're awesome. Actually, the guy that runs our studio here, his name's Joe Bello. He's in a band called Gum. And Gum released an album, and they're, kind of alt indie rock.
Nice.
Kind of it's like has this reminiscent of like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin.
Dude, I love me some Pink Floyd.
But then it's like also kind of like indie hipster. You just got to listen. You just got to get your ears into some of their
They're creating a new genre.
They're pretty
Which
much,
is what Pink Floyd did.
Pretty much.
Ever heard of space rock? Yeah, we just invented it. Yeah, we invented it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I think those are some of my favorites. Trying to think who else. Goodness. What else happened this year? It's 2018.
It's a long year, right? Jeez.
It's December 2018.
If you're anything like me, you'll find an album. I was like, oh, dude, this is so good. It's new.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it was like 5-6 years old. Like,
you're like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
New to me.
Right. Oh, also, yeah, my friend, so Chris Cole Williams released a project with under his Misnomer Writer's Block. It's like a rap EP, little R&B thing.
Really? I didn't know he rapped.
Yeah.
I've heard him sing and play piano, but I didn't know he rapped.
Dude's got flow for days.
Nice.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, that's one.
all
We got to check out. I'm
throw at
going to
you.
check out all these people.
Do it. There's probably, there's plenty more. And for all the people that I've forgotten, I love you. And those are the ones I remembered.
This is very on the spot.
What are you personally listening to? Like,
Oh, man.
For maybe I guess like the past week or 2 weeks or whatever.
Well, I actually so Burn 24/7 is was started by a guy named Sean Foyt, and he's one of the worship leaders out at Bethel Church in Reading. And so I actually just did a little 4-day stint with him. So I went on tour with him and a team from the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministries, and we went to San Antonio and then Austin and then Dallas to Upper Room, Bethel, Austin, and Upper Room in Dallas, and then they actually ended here. And so Sean actually just released an album called Wild, and it's super, super good. So that's been,
Is he from Oklahoma?
he went to school ORU.
Okay.
So he's not from Oklahoma. He spent time in Oklahoma.
I think I met this guy once. Ben Kuntz, of course. I was back when we were both in high school. I would go to his house and hang out and stuff. One night, I'm hanging out in his room, like me, him, and his brother, and then he leaves because I think it was this guy came over, Sean.
Yeah.
I might have to ask him. I have to like re-verify this. I might be lying, but I'm pretty sure he comes over to the house, and Ben, Sean, his mom, sister, and dad basically have like this worship session in there, and me and his brother Matt are just chilling in his room playing the Wii or something, or Xbox, playing Fallout, and we walk out and we're like, what's going on? You guys are like slaying in the spirit and stuff. I'm like, we just been in here playing Xbox. Right. So I'm pretty sure that was that guy because it sounds really familiar. Yeah. And plus, if he's guy that started the burn,
Yeah.
right? So I'm 99% sure that's him. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, so
That's so
Good
good. So
times.
I've been listening to a lot of him lately, and then I feel like music is very medicinal, in that I kind of follow my emotions with music.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes I'm feeling I like need to just listen to some rap, and so I'll turn on Chance and listen to Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, I enjoyed his new
whatever.
songs this year.
He released some sweet stuff this year too. And then sometimes it's like I gotta listen to the Shins or some more of that hipster indie stuff. Or
Yep.
They haven't really. Did they just release an album? The Shins? They haven't released one in a while, I think.
I don't know. I think Death Cab just released something new.
They did,
which is cool. Super rad. That's another
I can't keep up with anything,
dude. It's so hard. It's so hard. As a musician, I'm like, I don't know how you. And not only that, but like the ability to like get your hands on recording gear is like, you can get good recording gear for like cheap.
You can.
Which is great, which is awesome for like the independent artist thing. Like, I'm gonna release this. It's just me and my guitar. It's like, oh gosh, I can. Now, if you just want you and your guitar, you can release an EP in your bedroom for like $1,000.
Yeah, it's true.
But that also creates the whole like, there's so much content.
There's a lot of music.
Yeah.
And me, my approach to listening to music is this: if I find an album, I just stick with it for however long until it's played out. So when I discovered King's Kaleidoscope last year.
Yeah.
Because I went to their concert I saw you there. Yeah, we saw each other. King's Kaleidoscope and John Mark. And dude, I listened to those like 2 or 3 of their albums for months.
So good.
And like I'm just oblivious to everything out there in the world because I'm just so in tune and like listening to this album nonstop. And dude, one of my favorite albums all time is the Hamilton musical.
Okay.
Dude, and like I am still listening to that like 2-3 years later, just because it is so.
At one point, you
stinking
could
good.
quote the whole album word for word.
I probably could sing the whole album to you right now. I'm not going to.
Let's go, man.
He's done it to me multiple occasions.
It's the next episode, guys.
Next episode. I'm just
tune in. It's Hamilton.
So what I used to do is I used to work at Amazon in Kentucky, and I would process returns. We weren't allowed to have any electronics on the floor. So what I would do when I got really bored, I would in my mind just start singing through the Hamilton musical as I'm like processing returns. So I'm like going through the whole like album and like yeah. So like before I know it, a few hours have passed and I've gone through the whole album in my head.
Tricks of the trade, man.
That's how you get through a work day at Amazon processing returns.
Never worked there,
dude. It's rough. If you can stand 10 hours a day and only get 2 15-minute breaks, then this place.
But you expand your mind with remembering music, so
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Come on,
dude. I love it. I love the Hamilton musical. Okay, so how we wrap up every podcast, we used to call it the things we like, things we hate segment, which we stole from Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
But then we weren't very good at naming things that we didn't like. We could like have a hard time naming things we didn't like. Yeah. So now we're stealing from the Minimalist podcast and calling it the added value segment. Ooh. So we share. We'll go first. The way you can think about it. So basically, we'll share just some things that we like. So I'll go first. Things that I like. I've come into my own personal renaissance in video gaming. Hey. I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Which is, dude, it is the most fun video game I've ever played in my entire life. Ever. That's so good. It's so fun. And like before this, like I would casually play like a video game for like 5 minutes and be like, dude,
Red Dead.
I'm so bored, dude. I was like, video games aren't even fun anymore. Like I play like 5 minutes or I try to play online on Fortnite and play like one match. I'm like, this sucks, dude. I'm just going to like go do something else.
Red Dead has redeemed.
Dude, Red Dead is the renaissance in gaming, dude. It is so fun, man. I can't believe it. I'm playing hours at a time. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, dude, it's like midnight. I've been playing since like 5 p.m. What's wrong?
You need to get up at 5 p.m.
I need to get up in 5 hours. What am I doing? It's so fun. So unbelievably fun.
Yeah.
So second thing that I really like, for my birthday, my mom bought me a Love Supreme by John Coltrane, and it's like the extended ones with all the extra sessions.
Oh, come on.
And it's so good. I knew it was a great album already because I'm familiar with it, but I didn't know the reasoning behind him making this album. It's actually a personal testimony to his relationship with God, him abandoning God, and God bringing him back into the faith. Oh, it's so great. So it's 4 songs, and I can't remember the titles, but each title is represents a segment in his life where he had a relationship with God or didn't have a relationship, and it all comes to full circle at the end. And it's just doing it with jazz, so it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Vinyl record.
Yep.
I don't know if you mentioned
Got it on vinyl. Yep. I like vinyl. Another thing I like, added value, my new job at the IPHC general headquarters. So praise God. Definitely. I mean, how it came about and the season that it's coming in is just you couldn't ask for perfect, like better timing. So thank God it's only by His providence that I have that. You know what? We've gone several episodes and we haven't talked about Watson, my new poodle.
Oh, he's been in it a couple of times though.
He's been in. He's barked in it and all kinds of stuff.
Caused
chaos while recording. So I got in November. I got a new dog, Watson. So now I have a poodle named Sherlock and a poodle named Watson.
They're Labradoodles, right?
No, they're poodles. Standard poodles.
Standard poodles.
Standard poodles.
I've been telling all our neighbors they're Labradoodles.
Really?
Yeah, like a lab and a poodle mix. But
No.
Oh, okay.
Incorrect. You need to go back and find.
They don't know
them.
the difference.
Hey, this is actually a poodle. Okay. No, but he's a joy. He's a good dog, and for the most part,
he's really
well
smart
trained.
for 4 months old too.
Only 4 months old. Jeez. Biggest of his litter. He's the biggest of his litter. That's what the lady told me.
87.3% potty trained.
Yeah, he's almost there. It could take up to 6 months to a year for some dogs, is what I heard. Yeah. He should be pretty smart enough. I don't know. He did it today, but he's a smart guy. Yeah. And yeah, my niece's second birthday yesterday.
Yeah.
Moana came and visited. She loved it. She had a great time. Almost choked on a donut hole, but
you did?
Good.
You
yeah.
almost choked on a donut hole?
I almost choked on a donut hole, and then as I'm eating this donut hole, and I guess I ate it too fast because I'm like choking on it, and then like I swallow it, and the way I swallow it, I felt like some of the donut hole went through my nostrils.
Oh gosh.
And then there was this pain in my throat, like I was bleeding, and then it lasted for like an hour. But dude, it was the worst experience I ever had eating donut hole. So I don't know. Maybe God's saying, "Hey, you're eating way too many donut holes. You need to stop.
You need to eat real donuts, man.
You need real donuts, or in fact, you just probably shouldn't eat any donuts for a while.
Yeah,
your button up is getting a little tight there, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my added value things I like.
One thing that I recently added to my life was an evergreen scented candle from Walmart. It was $5.37. I love it. I'm pretty content on all things material, but this one is definitely.
Adam's not a materialistic guy, which is great.
I am with clothes.
No,
I'm slowly changing my wardrobe, but anyway, the evergreen candle has lifted my spirits this week. So.
Smells good. And then my mom gave me one too. Didn't know Adam.
Yeah.
Didn't know Adam had
Didn't
one.
even know
my mom
Adam
bought me one too.
Yeah, I've been burning it constantly.
Yeah,
because it's $5. So
it's like you're burning money, yeah, but it's bringing pleasure to your life. So
that's the only value that I have recently. So
Liam, tell us about yours.
All right, I got a few. I think seasonal change added value. My mom moved in with my wife and I, and it has been awesome. It really, I mean, just super cool having mom around the house. She's like making dinner all the time and like baking cookies all the time and like cleaning the house all the time. And we haven't said that like, hey, you need to do these things if you're going to live in our house. Like it hasn't been one of those, but It's just been like,
she's just been doing it.
So yeah, but it's been like a huge added value. My wife and I like are so thankful to have my mom incredible. In the house, which is like, she's awesome. So that's a big added value thing. And then I'll say number 2, just finished Daredevil season 3 on Netflix.
Dude.
Nice.
I've been wanting to watch it.
All right. I'm not going to say anything, but added value. That's what I'm going to say.
What's sad is that there's not going to be season 4.
I got to a good place. When you finish the season, you'll be in a good place.
Okay.
You'll be in a
That's
good
all
place.
I need to hear because
all you
that's
need to
been
know.
my one caveat of not watching it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Okay.
It's worth it.
I'm doing it tonight.
Do it.
All of it?
Tonight's
All of it,
the night.
yeah. You know what? Hey, I can't make it to work. I'm really tired, and I'm still watching Daredevil.
Daredevil. So those are
Well.
two. I'm trying to think what anything else. Any other added values? Support local business.
Do
Added
it.
value. All of them. Buy local.
Buy local, supports the economy, supports
Support
these artists,
Yeah. Go
brings
see an
new,
artist.
brings new people in.
Straight up.
That's one thing I like about. I was talking to the owner or one of the guys that works at
It was the
the
owner.
haircut.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Jack's.
Church's Chicken.
What's it called? I feel really bad now that I forgot their name. They do. It's a barber shop, but also like a variety store of different things.
Sweet.
You know, it's right across the street from
Oh, Weldon Jack.
Weldon Jack.
Yeah.
Weldon Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking with the
Jared.
barbers. I was getting a haircut actually from one of the barbers. It wasn't the owner. I was getting a haircut, and he was. I don't remember how this came up in conversation, but he's like, "Yeah, what we do is locals have first priority when it comes to having things in the store, but if they're quality slipping, and we can get better quality from someone that's not local or out of state, we go to them." And we say, hey, this person has better quality. We notice yours is slipping. We're going to go with them. But once you get your quality back to par, back where it needs to be, you're back in. And I love it because they are able to. There's accountability. Like, hey, just because you're local doesn't necessarily mean we're going to give you precedence. But if your quality is slipping, then we're going to go the other guy, and it brings up the quality of everyone else's stuff. So I thought that's a really cool model that they have.
That's cool.
Yeah. I just tried to apply for Coffee Slingers.
Yeah, you had
Roasters.
an interview, right?
Yeah, I had an interview, but it didn't work out. They needed someone who was going to pursue coffee as a career. So
I can't believe that's even a thing people do now. I know it's a thing people do, but like
it is.
it's like in recent years.
Third wave coffee.
Supply and
fourth
demand.
Wave. What is it called? The fourth wave coffee movement. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
first one was
I've never even heard
World
of
War
this.
II,
Third wave.
maybe.
Yeah.
Or second one was World War II.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Seriously?
it's
Oh, yeah,
called
dude.
third wave coffee movement right now.
Really?
That's what
First one was-
the history of coffee. That's what we're in
No
right now.
way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Something like that.
I wish I drank coffee and liked it.
Oh,
Sorry,
me
everyone
too. For
listening.
you.
I've tried several times.
he really likes chocolate covered coffee beans though.
Those are pretty good. And
He
listen,
likes
I
those,
love the
which
smell
is
of
odd
coffee.
because
Yeah, right.
the bean is a little bit stronger than just a cup of coffee.
I love the smell of coffee.
Yeah.
I think it smells delicious and it smells very pleasing. And I could spend all day in a coffee shop just smelling everything. But once the smells hit my tongue, it becomes a hellish experience, and I just can't handle it.
No more, man. As soon as you start drinking the coffee, it doesn't. And I'm like, yeah, we went to, on this other little tour that I went with Sean this past weekend, we went to like 2 coffee shops a day.
Nice.
Wow.
I was like, I was
That
floating.
didn't affect your vocals any?
No, dude, I was floating everywhere. It affected my body. My vibrato like tripled in speed. It was going super, super fast. But besides that, no, it was.
It's pretty good.
Man. No, because Ben, he tried for so long to get me into coffee.
Oh yeah,
Bought me coffee, French press, everything.
sure enough.
Dude,
You just have to find
man.
the right cup for you.
I don't know, man.
One day, there
But
a couple
to be
find
fair,
you.
though, like when it comes to like what I drink water, and then like maybe once on a rare moon, I'll have like root beer,
There you
and then
go.
another rare moon, I'll have like juice.
There you go.
But like I would say probably 95% of my year, I'm just drinking water.
Yeah.
So
That's
maybe,
hardcore.
Maybe that's something to do with it.
Yeah, we battle it out to see.
And I don't do it to be healthy because I'm honest, I'm not that healthy of a guy. But I just was what I
Water
do.
is what I do,
Just-
yeah.
I just drink water. So
We go through a 42 pack of water bottles in like 2 days.
yeah, and Adam, he's nature conscious, and I'm not. So like he bought this filter,
Of
and
course.
like filter out water, and like it like ran out prematurely maybe or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they're sending
They said
another
it shouldn't
filter.
have done that.
I was like, dude, I'm going back to bottles, dude. I need my bottles.
I mean, we're recyclers.
You know-
We recycle plastic.
Well, we have you actually recycled any?
Yes.
You took them. They recycled them. Because there's like 3 large bags.
They're not
in
large.
Our, like,
there's 2. There's
closet of just like recycle bottles you're wanting to recycle.
2. Yeah.
So
Good for you, though.
Yeah.
Looking out. Stay green, man. Stay green, be green.
Yeah, plastic is rough.
conservationist or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy for you that you do that. Maybe I'll get convicted. I don't know. So to end the podcast, if you're willing, would you willing to play a song for us?
Absolutely. Fluid. Whenever you're ready. I'm giving you that. It's the Fluid content. Newer song. Yes. This isn't recorded. Never released.
Never released.
Never released.
You heard it first.
You're hearing it first here. It's called The I Am. I've played it live before, but it's not anywhere. So, anyways, yeah, it's called The I Am. Knows where I've been, knows where I've been, and it's easy to see. I am knows where I've been, knows where I've been, and it's still me. Knows where I am, knows who I am, and it's easy to see. I am, knows who I am, knows who I am, and is still of me. I am, and here we go. I am, and here we are. And then there we go. I am, knows where I'll go, knows where I'll go. It's easy to see. I am, knows where I'll go, knows where I'll go, and will be with me for sure.
Beautiful.
Boom.